Bob Ensminger, our CEO and owner, has proven in the past in down cycles. He's had a cash reserve and continues to pay people. We've gone on, we cut down overtime or perhaps reduce hours in the past, but we can't lose our people because they're everything to us.
I'm Ari Santiago, President, CEO of IT Direct. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Made in America podcast, COVID-19 edition. I'm really excited for this episode. We have a new guest, Mark Burzynski, President of the Arthur G. Russell Company. Mark, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and share your views and talk about what you guys are doing right now. I know you got a lot going on, and it's really a pleasure to have you on today.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, you're very welcome. Listen, it's the Made in America podcast, Mark. So same two questions. What do you make and why do you make it?
We make custom automatic equipment, primarily assembly equipment for all kinds of industries, but we've been, for the past 30 to 40 years, we've been focused in the medical device industry, primarily high volume, ultra high volume disposable medical devices. Virtually you and all of your listeners have been stuck with something that's been made on our equipment. We do a lot of needle handling, sharps, blood collection, that kind of thing.
So let's dig into that a little bit. Just how has that business been impacted by sort of the COVID-19 situation?
Well, certainly. We see it's a long business cycle, capital equipment. So the immediate effect is it hasn't really been felt other than environmentally on our workforce. But we see a wave of business coming after this, created by this. Demand for the devices made on our equipment has certainly increased.
So you're one of the lucky few businesses that actually may see an uptick as a result of kind of what's going on here in the medium term, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. Overall, medical device, we've been fortunate to have been in that arena for a long time now, and so our business has been healthy for decades now because of that.
So, you mentioned there's a long lead cycle in big capital equipment purchases. So, going into, this type of a economic environment, sometimes we see people pull back on capital investments. Sounds like you've got a pretty decent backlog. Is that what you're kind of relying on to see you through in the short run? And do you anticipate any push outs or schedule changes on that capital equipment investments?
No, actually not. We book things, a year or more in advance. Our cycles are 12, 14, 15 months for these large pieces of capital equipment. We actually, on the inquiry side, the RFQ side, we've been getting a lot of inquiries. Some of them looking for accelerated deliveries because of COVID, things that are in demand, people adding additional capacity and wanting to know how fast they can get it. Unfortunately, we don't keep these machines in stock in the warehouse, and we can't pull them out. We got to start by making parts and putting them together and that type of thing. So, but the inquiries have certainly spiked because of this.
So let's talk a little bit about kind of give people the size who don't know the Arthur G. Russell Company. You guys are located in Bristol, Connecticut. Can you just give the audience a quick sort of size and scope of the organization? How many employees? How big is your facility? Just get a little bit of background on that front.
Okay, well, you mentioned we're in Bristol. We've been in Bristol for 75 years. This is our 75th year. We have a 100,000 square foot facility up on Chipman's Hill, up by the old New Departure GM plant where I used to work back in the day. We're at just over 150 employees right now. Skilled engineers, technicians, electricians, controls, programmers, that type of thing.
So it sounds like with that high skill, prior to sort of this COVID-19 thing and maybe going through it as well, you were probably one of the many manufacturing companies in Connecticut that was really concerned about the talent pipeline. Is that a fair statement? And what have you guys been able to do? Well, maybe we should start with this. How has the number of employees at Arthur G. Russell changed in the recent history? Have you guys grown in the last, say, 5-10 years from an employee base perspective? And what have you done to been able to find the talent?
Well, yeah, fortunately we have grown since about 2013. 2013 we're around 85 employees, so we've nearly doubled in the past 7 years. Business has been good. A lot of the medical manufacturers buying capital equipment. Talent-wise, staying that we're impacted by the skills gap is an understatement. All of our people are extremely skilled in technology. We're implementing cutting-edge technologies. It's not something that they teach in school. It's something that's acquired. So we've been fortunate to find additional skill set, but looking forward, we are like everybody else in Connecticut manufacturing. It's got an aging workforce, and we're looking to have a lot of attrition in the next 5 to 10 years that we need to replace. So I've been spending a significant amount of time working on the talent development, talent acquisition piece of the business, knowing that it's key to the longevity and continuity of the business.
What's the average age of the staff at Arthur G. Russell where it stands right now?
Looking at the statistics, our median age has fallen under 50 years through the growth and acquisition of younger talent. But we've got literally half of our workforce is going to be within retirement age within the next decade. So we've got a lot of replacement to do, a lot of talent lines.
And a lot of your gear, right, is really custom designed, deep relationship with your customers, helping them design these like custom implementations. So I would imagine that a lot of institutional knowledge in some of those people that are headed towards retirement. Is that fair?
Yes, that's very fair. We come up with what we feel is the best concept, applying the best technologies for a solution, and that's based on many years. I've got close to 40 years. In our applications group, we've got about 150 years worth of automation experience, where we put our heads together and figure out, okay, I've seen this work in this application, and someone else has seen it, in another type of application, and we all pull our ideas together and come up with the best system for the customer. These are really complex systems, many pieces. Sequential operations that get done. So we have to know all the processes involved. We don't do it.
Maybe you could help the audience that doesn't know a lot of detail about what you guys make. Just maybe give a flavor of just quite how volume the automation systems that you guys design are, and sort of what the size and scope of them are. I think to really give people an understanding of what we're talking about here, because I think it's important for them to get some context.
Okay. Like I said, everybody's been stuck with stuff made on their machines. Syringes, safety needle assemblies, blood collection. Everyone gets their blood tested with blood collection needles or blood collection sets. Virtually all of those used domestically, or at least the largest part of the market, are made on our equipment. The blood collection tubes that you see your blood getting drawn into when they take those are made on our equipment. Just for scope, those blood collection tube lines run at 1,500 tubes a minute. And there's dozens of these lines scattered around the world. So, and they're large complexes. I mentioned when I talked to you earlier that last summer we shipped a syringe line that entailed over 100,000 man hours of labor skilled. That includes engineering, machinists, technicians to assemble, wire, program, debug. We assemble this line on our floor. It's there for a year or more being tested and valid, doing pre-validation stuff. We have to break that down, put it into trucks or on shipping containers, ship it wherever in the world. Our team goes out and puts it all back together and has to get it back up and running in the same efficiency levels that it was running at our place. So a very, very involved process. But very gratifying to see when the whole team's work comes together and we have this thing that runs pretty much lights out. It's very satisfying.
I bet. And I mean, you had mentioned to me, I don't remember the numbers, but how many needles does that thing produce per minute? It was just an insane number.
That particular line ran at 1,400. We make insulin pen needles at 1,200 a minute. That's 20 needles a second. So they're very high throughput systems.
Yeah, and a lot of obviously you're gonna need a lot of high precision because people that are in the medical device world know they've got to be made to certain specifications. They got to meet, FDA regulations. They got to be the same thing over and over and over again. So to generate that high volume, that's got to be a ton of you had mentioned 100,000 hours on the machine before, but the level of engineering, precision, and coordination between, like you said, the software programmers, the equipment people, the technical engineering, it's just a massive feat of engineering, which just must require so much brain power, both from a training, but also just years of experience. You mentioned yourself, you've been in automation since the early 80s, just been a long time doing it. What's your guys' plan to help transition that institutional knowledge that you see into retirement over the next decade into the people that you're just bringing on who, you can't shove 40 years of experience in someone's brain, through automation. It's got to be some type of program and it's got to take some time, I would imagine.
It does. And, I'll start on the engineering side. I'm a mechanical engineer by training. Bringing in new mechanical engineers, I go out on college campuses and recruit, trying to find people that really want to do machine design, which is they're kind of needles in a haystack. And there's a lot of fields of engineering, but we bring them in. We, start them working with some of the senior engineers on simpler projects, and they graduate to more and more complex mechanisms, challenges, and we try to mentor them. We do peer design reviews and now we're doing them remotely, where the designers are presenting their designs on a screen from, we use SolidWorks, so they present that, and we have our senior leadership, the guys with the experience, sit in and mentor the design and say, have you considered this? Have you considered that? So it's really a mentoring process. It really can't be, you can't put it on a timetable and have a training program and check the boxes. It's really just a matter of trying to interact on a day-to-day basis and, explain. You don't want to, designers are creative people. You don't want to dictate the design, but you want to have them consider what needs to be considered to make sure that the design is going to be suitable for what you're trying to do.
So I got to imagine, given the long time horizon it's going to take to get these people trained up, that regardless of whether there's a COVID-19 crisis or not, you guys are probably on the hunt for good talent to kind of build up that workforce to help in the transition. Fair to say?
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, the college recruiting and interviewing process got kind of derailed. We're hoping we can pick that up whenever this thing is over. But seeing what's happening on the college campuses, I was working with a team of engineers up at Olin College of Engineering, and they're not going to have a graduation. They're not going to be able to have their presentation day when they present their project. They're going to do that virtually. But but they're adapting. And the younger generation can adapt faster than us old timers, I'm sure.
Are you, given the new environment, are you guys pursuing any new strategies to kind of maintain some of that recruiting? Because I'm sure that you've been developing relationships with these people in engineering schools and other places over time. What are you guys doing right now in the new environment where you can't meet face to face, where you can't maybe have them come to the shop and do some experience? Maybe some of the internships are being delayed. What are you doing to maintain those relationships and build new ones so you don't lose the momentum you guys have invested so much time in?
Well, we're trying to do everything virtually that we can. I had a meeting yesterday with Olin, talking about next year and continuing the project or taking another phase of the project. And how would we do that if in fact it's going to be done virtually? So we think through doing the analysis portion of it, a lot of when you're working with solid modeling, you can get pretty close to reality and look at a design and collaborate on that design. And so that actually works pretty well on the engineering side. The hard part is the hands-on part, where you can't even, you're trying to stay 6 feet away and point something out, but yeah, it's a challenge, and we're learning. It's been 4 to 6 weeks, and we learn something every day.
Yeah, no kidding. What are you guys? So let's actually pull on that thread a little bit. What technology is Arthur G. Russell using just in general to try and get through this? And maybe we should start actually one step backwards. Who do you have in the organization that's still coming into the facility, and who's working remotely right now?
Well, everybody that can work remotely is working remotely. Our office staff, our leadership team, all our engineering, our mechanical engineering, and about half of our electrical and controls engineering teams are working remotely. We've got pretty specialized hardware for our engineers. They all packed up their box computers and brought them home. Our IT team, we have a small IT team, but they scrambled. They got every laptop that we had lying around upgraded and workable. So virtually half the business is working remotely, but machines can't build themselves, and you can't put parts together virtually. So all of our production people are working. We've spread them out a bit. We're a 2-shift operation, but the second shift was more of a not a skeleton crew, but slimmed down. But we've spread some of that work to second shift. Some of the guys have been really good about going on second shift just so that we can have more physical distancing. The machine is only so big, and so if you got people with their hands on it all over the place, we're trying to keep them social distancing and wear a mask, and everybody's been, the team has been fantastic because they're very appreciative that they are working and they are getting a paycheck, and that the company, we're staying on schedule, and we have to meet our deadlines. Our customers aren't going to cut us any slack. They want their equipment when we said we were going to give it to them, and they're checking up on us, making sure we're staying on schedule. So far we've been doing good.
What do you think? I mean, going into the crisis, were you guys well positioned from an orders perspective and a staff camaraderie perspective to be in a good shape to see this thing through, do you think?
We were very lucky. We were in a very good place. Obviously, we didn't know this was coming, but we had been strengthening the organization, strengthening the management team, and strengthening our systems. I mentioned we put in a new ERP system, which we're coming basically from homegrown, database stuff. Took a major leap. We got that in. We've been live for 2 years, and things have smoothed out. We've got the wrinkles worked out, and now because of that, we're able to do financial transactions remotely, and things, we have the information we need going in. We were strong with the backlog. I mentioned we had close to a 2-year backlog. So the work for today and, the next, several months is already in the pipeline and secured. It's, but it is a pipeline, and we have to keep it filled. If there's a blockage somewhere, or if we're stuck in dry at the input of the pipe, eventually that bubble works its way through the through the whole organization. So we have to keep the pump primed, and so far it looks like it's not going to be a problem, because the request for proposals is still strong.
So that's great. What ERP system did you guys put in?
Epicor 10,
okay.
And I'm very proud of our organization for having done this, because you read the horror stories that 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10, small, medium-sized companies that try to do this fail or turn back. We took a team approach. We got the whole business leadership team involved in the selection, and okay, we're going into this together. We know it's not going to be pretty, and but we had some really good people internally to step up and get this done. So we're starting to see the benefits. It took us close, a year and a half, 2 years to just get back on our feet and understand what we had done. And now we're adding functionality all the time. Our team is doing great with that. We've got some good internal resources that if we didn't have, we wouldn't have been successful.
What do you think are some of the, I think you mentioned the point about how many companies struggle with ERP implementations. And I think when implemented correctly, there's a ton of business value. Just curious, from your purchase president of Arthur G. Russell, what do you see as some of the key benefits that investing all the time and energy and money get this ERP thing rolling, doing it well. What do you think the benefits have been from a business standpoint?
Well, going in, we felt that the need to implement it was done with we did a SWOT analysis. And one of the big risks in our business, I mentioned, is that we're quoting a $10 or $15 million system based on our estimates of, we think we can get that done in this amount of time or for this amount of money. So the estimate is, once you send out that quote and push send on the email, your die is cast if you get that purchase order, and you got to make that job come in, with some margin on it. And so knowing actual costs, in our old system, we knew how much a job cost, but getting the detailed cost of a piece of that job. I mentioned that they're sequential processes. We often are borrowing from our 75-year history of that mechanism worked here, or that type of device worked. What did it really cost us? In the old system, we really couldn't get good costing without putting in a tremendous amount of work. And typically we've got a couple of weeks or a month to come up with a proposal, and you really don't have the time to get that detailed cost data. We are now getting, we call it cost by section. So we can break that cost down and know that, okay, in that particular section of the machine, if we're going to replicate that, this is what it's going to cost us. So our confidence level in our estimating and quoting is much higher. And that was one of the major reasons we did it. But now we're seeing all kinds of secondary benefits, being able to close the books in a couple of days on a monthly basis, as opposed to spending a couple of weeks on a quarterly basis, that type of thing. It's impacted the whole business. And, certain things it has made work. To get good data out, you got to put good data in, and it takes work to put good data in. And in a lot of cases, that wasn't being done. So having to do it is added work. And so certain parts of the business are seeing added work. And, there was some mumbling and grumbling, and questions, why am I doing this? But, we try to be very transparent as to see, okay, because of your added work and putting this information in, we're getting this information out. And, I think everybody's on board that it was worth the pain and the money. And moving forward, we've got a good platform that's scalable. We hope to continue growing the business. We did an acquisition in 2013, and actually because of that, we acquired some talent. One of key resources, one of our IT guys who had experience in that, and he's been a godsend for this ERP thing. If you think the company, your vendor, is going to do it for you, that's not the case. You gotta be prepared to do the work yourself.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Absolutely. And, let's talk a little about the team. So as the team's grown, how would you sort of describe the culture at Arthur G. Russell, and how has that culture either contributed to or been a hindrance to your growth and success?
I think the culture is everything. And I was drawn to the Arthur G. Russell company by the culture and experience. I was a customer for 15 years as an engineer, manufacturing engineer, process engineer. So I bought equipment from the Russell company, and I knew there was always something very special there. And when I got the opportunity to capitalize on that culture, I really kind of brought it to the forefront. And in doing so, it was really a catalyst, if you will, for a lot of things. We went through a lean transition, and getting everybody on board, and realizing what a great culture we had, and that we are all keepers of it, and that isn't it great to have a great job and like the people you work with, and not have to worry about somebody stabbing you in the back, that type of thing. So the culture is the key.
What did you do? What have you done to? Well, I mean, so you admired the culture from afar. So when you came in, this great culture was already there. Is that fair to say? And then did you kind of build on it, or because the company certainly changed from when you started to today in size and scope, employee count, I'm sure revenue. What did you do with the culture that you found when you got there and to make it what it is today?
I think I just highlighted it that okay, this is, I recognize this from the outside. I can recognize it from the inside. So one thing we did when I became president, I've been an engineer my whole career. I haven't been a manager. I've managed teams, but haven't really been in a leadership role like I was given the opportunity to do. So I started reading, listening to books on my commute every day, and all the classics. And but the key one was Simon Sinek's Start with Why. And so really, that's where we started. Why do we exist? So the stated purpose of the Arthur G. Russell Company is to provide challenging, rewarding, and secure jobs for our team members and to support our community. That was why the founders founded the business, because they liked working together and they liked working with the technology and wanted to have a good place to do it. So a lot of companies have their product or their customers or whatever as their focus. The Russell Company's always been about the employees, and that's still our focus. Providing people, the work we do is amazing. That the challenging part was always there. Working on the rewarding part was something that we highlighted, and having secure jobs means that we're making money, and we have we have a cash reserve for the ups and downs. This is a really cyclical business. I mentioned it's not a business for publicly traded companies. There's been disasters in the industry because of that, because the business cycle is pretty lumpy. We've been through 3 before this. I'm sure this is probably going to have some shockwaves at some point. But and because our talent is so critical to the success of the business, we can't be shedding people if there's a business downturn. So Bob Ensminger, our CEO and owner, has proven in the past in down cycles, he's had a cash reserve and continues to pay people. We've gone on, we cut down overtime or perhaps reduce hours in the past, but we can't lose our people because they're everything to us.
What are some of the things you guys do to facilitate this culture? You talked about the Simon Sinek Start with Why, great book, actually, he's got some great TED Talks on that too, and really talking about the purpose, and I think that's very powerful. How do you manifest that in terms of actual activities or actions that people could see and feel if they work at Arthur G. Russell?
Well, one thing we did was to determine and write down and publicize our guiding principles. And we tell people that they're empowered to make any decision that they feel qualified to make, as long as they don't violate any of our guiding principles. And that the guiding principles are the only reason that you're probably going to be could be shown the door. And that we're serious about that. And people go that haven't violated those, and it's been clear that that's why. We try to live those principles. And number one is the golden rule. We try to treat people like we want to be treated, and we're all equals in the company as far as our input on a job, and technical challenges are we all put our minds together, guys. Anybody that has any input, it's listened to and taken seriously. So
do you find that makes for an attractive environment for the type of people that have to do the design work that you guys do?
Yes, yeah. I mentioned to you the other day that we have been named the top workplace in Connecticut. On the recruiting front, I'm looking for those talented young engineers who, in the climate up until COVID, these guys, could, or girls could write their own ticket. We're competing against SpaceX and Google and Amazon Robotics at these career fairs. And so what do we have that's special? And what I tell them is we have a special culture, and getting that top workplace was just kind of a banner to be able to wave that, hey, why would you want to come work for a 150-person company in Bristol? Because of the work we do. It's few places in the world do what we do from a technology standpoint, and to do it in a good work environment, with good people, and not be a number. Work in a family kind of environment.
Does that message resonate?
It does. It does. It's difficult competitively against an Amazon or a Disney tech. As far as the salaries we can offer. So, but one thing that I've learned with the current generation is they're not just looking for that highest dollar, and we're trying to adapt the business. I mentioned we're a 75-year-old company. We've got a seasoned management team, meaning that we're boomers, and we have to adjust our attitudes and our perceptions and adapt if we want to find the next generation that's going to be amped about the kind of business we have and the work that we do. So,
age old, adapt or die, right?
Yeah. So, and we've done a really good job, I think, adapting, as best we can anyway.
How have you been, since I know from our earlier conversation, even this conversation, you could tell you're passionate about the culture and the guiding principles and all that. And a lot of that can come down to interaction and interpersonal interaction, and and there's teamwork, and I'm sure that the mechanical engineers and the electrical engineers, you're all designing this one big project, so this collaboration and being together has got to be such a big part of what you guys do. And now we're in this time of social distancing, which is really kind of, I don't know if counterbalance or antithesis of the togetherness. What are you guys doing, and maybe you could share some of the thoughts you guys have at AGR about how do you create that camaraderie, or at least maintain it in an age where we're asking people to not be together?
Well, it's been difficult because, we have celebrations, we have cake or ice cream or whatever when one of these jobs ships, or, we had the management team, leadership team cook breakfast for the whole plant, employee appreciation day. So we're really kind of, a close group, and so this is really hard for us. We're hoping that this doesn't go on too long, so we don't have to come up with too many ways. But I mentioned the engineering teams we're staying engaged with because we do virtual design reviews, and so we're doing a lot of this Zoom and Teams, but it's not the same. So we're hoping that it doesn't have a long-term, long-lasting effect on the culture and environment that we had.
How are you communicating with the team? Like, are you guys doing any regular cadence of communication, either video or written or a combination, to kind of inform people of where you guys stand in terms of the phasing of this, into the new world? The phase one we call like the change phase, and now I feel like we're in this abnormalcy phase, right? Where we're sort of stabilized on this weird abnormal thing, looking for the way out. Are you communicating with the team on a regular basis?
Yeah, we're sending out a weekly kind of newsletter or status update of what's going on, and what jobs we're looking at in sales, and how things are coming, and feedback from our customers, and that's always gratifying when we're hearing that our machine is set a new record, or it's outperforming our competitor's machine, or we're getting a request for quote to replace one of our competitors' machine because it's not living up to their expectations. And so we share all that good news, but it's not the same as we have fairly regular we call it double doors meeting. There's a double door between the offices and the shop, and we gather everybody there and share news and celebrate, and if somebody's had a baby or a grandchild or whatever, we try to communicate that, and birthday wishes. We give I have monthly meetings with a group of employees, and try to keep the communications open there to learn about what their backgrounds are. And we started that when we started having the growth, when we had new employees coming in, and we figured it as a way to have everybody get to meet the new employees. So haven't been able to do that. No.
You moving any of that to virtual and using any of the technology to do that, or just kind of waiting until you guys get back together?
Well, we're trying to talk about it. We're doing some virtual Gemba meetings in the morning. We built a couple of video systems that were really designed for helping us debug equipment using security cameras and the big monitor. So we've turned those around, and so everybody can virtually look at the whiteboard that's being talked, and the guys on the floor need to keep their distance, and you can't read lips when people have masks on, so it's difficult. But we're trying, and so far it's working, but it's not the same. Everybody, we can't wait to get back together.
Yeah, listen, necessity is the mother of invention, but nothing's going to take the place of kind of getting back together. What are you most looking forward to, as we're kind of wrapping up here, what are you most looking forward to when we start to come back, and hopefully we'll be able to start coming back in the not too distant future? What are you most looking forward to, Mark, about kind of getting back in the office and getting the team back?
Well, it's not getting back in the office. It's getting back out on the factory floor and seeing what's being built there. It's just fascinating, and we've got a system that's coming together, starting to run, and being able to go out and get daily updates on the debug, or having input as, hey, we saw that problem 10 years ago, and let's try to do this. So the satisfaction of seeing one of our systems come to life and run is really it's what gets me juiced, and it's all the engineering guys can understand that seeing what you've designed come to life is really really gratifying, and you can't see that over
no.
It's just not the same, not smelling the machine and hearing it and feeling the rumble in the floor, and that's
yeah, I can't replicate that online.
No, I'm a shop guy at heart, and I missed the shop.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll be able to get back to that. And before we go, I'm just curious. There's wherever there's challenges, there's always opportunities. And I wonder, what opportunities do you see being able to take advantage of, like through this crisis, either on the business side, the recruiting side, personal side? Like, what are some of the opportunities you think we can, some changes in the marketplace that might be able to be taken advantage of for some challenges maybe we were having before that we could maybe tackle in a different way or more successfully now?
Well, I think continued growth. Obviously, the focus on medical device and personal protection and the manufacturing of that. I think we're going to see a surge in business. Just the surge in automation and Industry 4.0 coming, and I think we're going to see another surge in the business. Along with that, potential growth, we have to find the talent for that growth, and so we got to get back out, and hopefully, unfortunately, some businesses will be closing, and there'll be talent on the market that we might be able to attract to come to one of the best places to work in Connecticut.
That sounds fantastic. Listen, there's always a silver lining on the other side, and I'm glad that you're finding some of it, and wish you the best of future success and continued success in what you've been doing. And there's so much more that we could talk about. Your personal background, Lean, what you guys have done with the culture there, and just more in detail. So I look forward to having you on a full episode of Made in America once we get out of this thing. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to, is being able to get back and do our normal setup and get face to face and have those in-depth conversations. So I hope you'll accept that invitation, and I look forward to it.
I look forward to it too. I hope I can get you out in our shop and show you what we do hands-on.
Oh, dude, that would be fantastic. Listen, Mark, thanks so much for taking some time. I really appreciate it. We'll talk again soon.
Okay. Stay safe, Ari.
Thanks. You too.
Made in America with Ari Santiago is brought to you by IT Direct.
As always, thanks so much for tuning in. I definitely want your feedback and hope you subscribe. But what I want the most is to build a community where we learn and grow with each other. I hope you're getting a lot of value out of the time we're spending together. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you next time.